Well, here's another wild thing here. It should be a Trident Maple Grove somewhere in there. Let's see if we could get it back to what it should look like. Well, let's get started. So just remove these ones that just came on really strong, right? The ideal method is to do this more often so that you don't have this. That's ideally. But when you got over 2,000 plants still, it's not reality, at least for me. But those of you that are hobbyists, you should never get it to this state. But it doesn't take much to get back to where it needs to be, right? So I've been emphasizing you gotta get the form. Get your basic form in place, so even with growth like this, it's no big deal. But if you have no form and do this, then it's a different story. So I've been shaping all this even as a starter plant. Most places when they say starter, it's just a rooted cutting. But I start my training process actually even from the time I take the cutting or the seeds, and then okay, so it sort of looks the way it should. Now we could start to get more detail. Up on top, see this really heavy growth? Those are the ones that came on later, and this could actually destroy or distort your work. So once again, up on top, make sure you keep it under check, because they tend to want to grow up there, and all the heavy growth will ruin this nice taper that you've been working on. But see, because we already have our line, it comes right back. Oh, the other day, and I should have had the camera running, one of my former customers, he's been coming around, we figured out 30 years. And he had bought a little tree, and it grew and grew, and we're getting older and older. We had a heck of a time getting that thing out of the car. So it started out as one of my basic bonsai when he came by. Actually, he came with his father, I think he said. And but we realized that as we mature and the tree gets bigger, it sure is a hard thing. Well, something like this is still easy because it's reasonable size, but oh yeah, that's been kind of an ongoing problem. You know, my student body is getting older, and me in my mid-70s, I'm the middle age, because we got some that's approaching 90. And you know what happens, and when you pass like 60-ish, things seem to get heavier. But you can see that everything is coming together, right? So rather than making this a chapter, I'm going to grab another one and then say, okay, this is the first of either 2 or 3, we don't know yet, and get on with it. Now, if I knew for sure there was somebody that was interested in this, then I would trim a little bit more detail, but this is good enough to get to, well, if necessary, yeah, I could go in and clean it up, but I think this is where it should be. Okay, so this has been the Trident Maple. What's that? Oh yeah, 7x7. So I have 7 trees, 7 rocks, and lucky 7. So I think there was another one that was an 8x8. So anyway, I'll go see if I have that, and then we'll make the 2 of these as one chapter. Okay, this is our second tree. This is the 8x8. 8 trees and 8 rocks. And as a review, in some cultures, 8 is a lucky number, especially in the Chinese. They like 8s. So I said double 8, 8x8. And then so the one before was 7x7, and that's more or less universal, I think. The number 13 is considered to be unlucky around here, but in Japan, that's not one of the bad ones. So, you know, these numbers are kind of a cultural thing, I guess. Anyway, it needs pruning. We're in the middle of September. So this should be our final pruning before it starts changing color and dropping leaves. And like I said, that basically these really random growth that happen over the last 2 months just get removed, and then we should be fine. So all this growth like that is within 2 months, maybe even less than that. So, and I'm not sure whether I'm just making excuses, but because I have so many and have a tendency for a lot of my plants to do this, they do grow fast though. Well, you gotta have the growth to fatten your trunks, right? Well, when you get a bunch of them that grow like this, then naturally the trunk will get fatter and improve better. Like I said, I'm not sure if that's, well, it is true, but I think I'm just making excuses. So those of you that like to prune and stay on top of it, it's good for a nice finished bonsai, but on these still halfway to being mature, it might be worthwhile to just let it go wild and let it get big. But now, if you don't do everything that needs to be done, sometimes you will end up with a reverse taper or a bulge. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit closer to okay, now that I'm very close to where I should be, I could take my time and work the details. I don't know if you notice, but occasionally, you know, especially the really close-up one, it's not in focus. Yeah, it's, well, now that I'm using a little more sophisticated camera versus the ones I had before, it was autofocus and that's it. Well, sometimes I get the setting wrong and then it won't focus something that's really tight. Well, that's the disadvantage of doing it all myself, because I'm kind of looking at the little screen and really can't tell when it's really focused or slightly out of focus. So you're gonna have to let things pass. That's the reality around here. And I thought of asking somebody to do the behind the camera thing, but a lot of this is spontaneous. I don't have the time to say, well, I'll have this guy come by and run the camera for me when I don't know in the morning when I get up what I'm going to be doing. And then so like this morning I'd be shooting probably 3-4 chapters. The subject was sort of unknown. Yeah. Well, so anyway, that's some of you probably noticed that sometime occasionally, especially really close up, will be slightly out of focus. The one that are really bad, I don't use. I shot a whole chapter and then I couldn't use any of it because everything was out of focus for that one. So when it's really bad, you won't see it. But sometimes it's important enough that I'll try to go ahead and use it with slightly out of focus. So you could see what I'm doing, right? After I got rid of those very vigorous ones, I'm just going inside and detailing. I think this is the front. And what I was trying to do with this, I was trying to get this trees to come over so that you're kind of walking through a tunnel. And I think it's getting there. So what I'm going to do is to go ahead and pull the weeds and call it finish for this time, and I'll show you when I get to that stage. So I figure I'm not going to bother you with me pulling the weeds. Okay, I think, well, it's not perfect, but it's not what I try to do here. Try to get as much work done as possible. I still got almost 2,000 trees. And so if I sit here and pluck out every little weed, I'll never get done. So anyway, you can see that it's got 8 trees and 8 rocks. So hopefully somebody that likes numbers, the number 8 will take interest in this. Okay, so it's been the chapter on 7x7 and 8x8. So this is Hiro saying goodbye. I'll see you again real soon in another chapter. So these men, well, this one here is a Japanese maple. The other one was a Trident maple.